Live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Everyone, welcome back to Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler, and there is still a lot of ice and slush and snow on that bridge right there. You know, every day, pretty much for the last couple of weeks, I've been pulling up this picture, a different one, just trying to take a look and see what it's like out there. It looks a little clearer. There's a little bit of a clear passageway on there, but there is still a lot out there, and I think we've all been dealing with it for a while, and we're all tired of it. But nonetheless, that's how it is. I'm Greg Nibbler, here, of course, with Eric Goranson, Eric G, from around the house Northwest.
Hey, guys.
Good to have you here in studio with us. And, you know, the subject line's right there. And I'm sure a lot of people, unfortunately, are dealing with this. I know there's several people just on this team who have had frozen pipes break within their apartments or homes. And all over the place, people are dealing with this. And unfortunately, once it happens, it's a big problem.
Yeah.
It's kind of a mess.
And the problem is what you see, though, is that things are frozen, right? And so we have to get warmer for people to find them because they're frozen, it's broken, but there's no water running, right?
Oh.
So now that we get into the 30s and 40s, all of a sudden, now you start to find those broken pipes because maybe you didn't notice that back bathroom wasn't working, or the laundry wasn't, because it's under the crawl space or something. And now all of a sudden, as we warm up, they start to show up.
Yeah, that's frustrating. Now I'm thinking about, is there any faucet I haven't turned on just to double check? So yeah, I mean, and it's just something that everybody's been having to deal with. And so once that does happen, though, I guess that's the big thing is, what do you do? What are those steps to go through?
You know, the first thing is to figure out how to turn the water off to your house. So usually there's a water meter outside. Apartments can be way different. Condos can be way different. So that can be anywhere. It could be in a service room. It could be out of the street still. But there's the meter out there. Wherever your meter is, and there's usually that box out there, that the little lid, you know, concrete maybe with a middle lid, depending on where you're located. And in there, there'll be a valve that you can turn off right next to it. You can get in there with a street key, which is a special tool. Or here in the Pacific Northwest, guess what? They're usually pretty high up to the close to the ground, so you can reach in there with a set of pliers and turn it off. But knowing how to turn it off is a big thing. And then you can turn the water off to the entire house to stop the flooding. Because most homes, even though you might have a shut off in the house, depending on how old it is, turn it off to the street is guaranteed you'll get it that way.
Yeah, so that's so know where those are. That's definitely a good thing to figure out. And I went out there and tested mine, you know, even before all this, just to make sure in case it had happened. And so knowing that, getting that water shut off, and then what are the processes? Like, what are the steps?
Well, some of the warning signs, and sometimes you won't even know that you have a broken pipe, right? Because you're like, oh, water pressure's a little low. One of the warning signs, though, is like, where'd my hot water go? Well, if you've got a broken hot water line in a crawl space, it's going to burn through that hot water heater really quickly. So you might go, oh, I've got a broken hot water heater. You might have a broken pipe and just not know it. So what I say is to go around your house, and the quick, easy way to tell to see if you've got running water like that is to make sure you're turning everything off. No laundry running, no dishwasher, no nothing. Just everything's turned off. Run out to the street, flip that open, and look at your meter. There's usually a little red or blue twirly thing in there. If it's stopped, nothing's leaking. If it's running, water's running someplace.
Oh, man, okay.
It's a simple way to be able to go out and do it. Just lift open that little lid, look down, and if you have to take the whole cover off, you know, grab it, take it off, take a look in there and see. And if it's not moving, there's no water running.
Yeah.
And you're good. But if it's spinning or if it's going really fast, water's going someplace.
There's a big issue somewhere. Yeah, okay. That's what I'm going to do when I get home, and now I'm terrified of that. But yeah, so that's an excellent way then to figure out whether or not you do have a leak somewhere, and if you don't know it. So say you do have this pipe go out, water gets in there, you know, it takes a minute to get it shut off, or you're at work and you don't have an auto shut off or something like that.
Exactly.
You know, what do you do then?
Well, first stop the bleeding, right? You want to get the water turned off and figure out what's going on, and then clean up any water. If it's inside the house, make sure you get that cleaned up, because time makes a difference. Because after about 24 hours, you start growing mold, and 48 hours, you got mold growing. So you want to make sure and get that, because that's the other hidden thing after that.
Okay.
But get that turned off. And then it's going to come down to your skill level. At this point, are you calling a plumber and getting on a long list, or are you going to try to tackle yourself? And so that's kind of the two big things of what you're going to do. Because that broken pipe, you know, is a broken pipe, and most of the time you can't isolate it. It's really rare that you'll be able to isolate it and still have water on. So that's the thing. You're going to have to get under there and fix it yourself, or have a pro come do it.
So you're not going to see like a giant crack down the pipe or something like that?
You could. I mean, you could. I mean,
Maybe, but-
here's the thing. There's different types of pipe out there. So with copper, usually it's going to expand out because when it freezes, it expands. And so you'll see like a little slit where it's blown out, that maybe an inch or two. That's typical there. If you've got that yellow plastic, the CPVC, that stuff tends to explode. So you could have anywhere from where it's broken off at a fitting, or there could be a 10-foot crack down the pipe, and now you're replacing a whole section. So it's just depending on where it is. The yellow CPVC is really brittle, and it's something that we did a lot in the 90s and 2000s, really in the 2000s, and the problem is this hasn't lasted well. And so that stuff is super brittle, so it doesn't take much to break that. And there's, you know, tens of thousands of homes in our area with that stuff.
Right.
And so that stuff's pretty prone to break. I used to have a house here in Bethany when I lived over there that in the middle of summer I could hear a boom, and it was a fitting breaking underneath just randomly because there was enough fluctuation in the water pressure. So you throw some frozen pipes, it's even more likely to
worse.
break.
What about some of the newer piping that's being used?
You know, the PEX stuff out there is wonderful. It has some expansion to it. So if it, you know, in theory, if it's in the middle of the line, it'll return back if it's like a PEX A. There's different types of PEX, but that stuff is really durable to freezes. Now the fittings, depending on what you have, that can be a problem where you have it if it's a metal fitting or something like that. But usually the pipe itself, it's much more durable than any of those because it does have the ability to flex.
Okay. All right. So that's all really good information right there. So get that. But if you do have one, get the water cleaned up. Get that taken care of, and then
Crawl
figure it
space
out.
will drain out. I mean, you don't want to make sure you get that. You know, if it's filling up, you got to turn the water off. But if it's on hard surfaces like a painted stuff like that, just get that cleaned up as best you can because that's going to cause secondary damage.
Okay. Yep. And then figure out if you can do it yourself or you're calling a plumber.
Exactly.
All right.
So, and when you're calling a plumber, get a licensed plumber out there. Don't just jump over to Nextdoor, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace and get somebody. Find a licensed, bonded, insured plumber to come out there. And you can check to make sure that they're a legitimate plumber. Just go over to the Oregon CCB page over there and put in the company you're going to do and see if they're a licensed company and see if they've got their bond and insurance, because the last thing you want to do is have somebody coming over there. This is that time of year when we have those natural disasters that we get people that are all of a sudden contractors and they're not. And so be really careful. I've already caught a few on my local pages that were, hey, call me. And I'm like, your license was suspended last year, so you shouldn't be doing that.
Man, yeah, scam artists just finding people who are desperate going through things and, doing what scam artists do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's prime season for that when this stuff happens.
So watch out for that. That's always good advice. I know you've always said to make sure that everybody's licensed and bonded anyway, no matter what it is, no matter what the project is that you're doing.
And with plumbing, you want to make sure they're using the right stuff and they're doing it right, and they've got insurance, because if there's damage down the road, maybe that fails, you got somebody to go after and go, hey, didn't do it right.
Yeah. Yep. Perfect. All right. Anything else for those?
No, that's kind of the
I think that
basics
covers
there.
most
Just
of
make
it.
sure you know how to turn the water off, and that's a good thing to know any time of year.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, let's talk about Around the House Northwest and this week's episode.
Yeah, so in my Perform Like a Pro segment, I said, I'm going to refinish these doors. I got a 70s house, so I have these interior doors that were painted, and they've been multiple painted, just layers and layers and layers. So I thought, hey, let's strip it and stain them. Well, I got into it and went, you can't strip these far enough to get down to stain them. So they were Holocore doors, veneers. I knew it was going to be a little sketchy to get it, so I start to strip it and show you kind of what you'll find, if you can save them or not. And then we start out with a new door, which actually ended up being cheaper to buy a new door than to spend the money to strip it. And so I showed you how to stain that and put it all together.
Nice. All right. So brand new door, and then what else? I don't know how many things you want to give away.
Oh, yeah.
So I never want to push it, but I know.
We have a great interview with Panoramic Doors. These guys are super cool. So what they do is, you know how your typical sliding glass door that you have where one panel moves, you walk in and out of it. Pretty common in almost every home out there. These guys have 4 or 5, 6 panels, and they'll open up all the way. So now it's just like an open space.
Oh, that's cool.
So you can
like
open
that.
them up, and they open up like a regular door and then slide down to the end. So they'll take up a little bit there, but you could have a 8, 9, 10-foot opening.
Oh, that's perfect for summer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Having that wide open like that.
Yeah.
Very cool. And that's a company from around here.
Yeah, they're just a national company, but they
national
have people
company,
here
gotcha.
locally.
Yeah,
So we
doing
did an
that,
interview
so-
with them, and we show how they work. It's something really cool.
Nice.
And what I like about their product is that they've got it so some of the doors, they all hang from the top, and so you have to put like steel beams and super expensive. The door is the cheap part of the project.
Yeah.
These guys made it so it works on the bottom, so you don't have to do all that stuff. So
Nice.
it saves you a ton on the project that you don't have to have all this crazy engineering just to get it to fit.
Right. Okay. Well, super cool. So we got that.
And then we had a bunch of actually viewer questions come in. So we had one that was about the right screws to use on a fence. We talk about that. And then like in my Perform Like a Pro segment, we talk about router basics, how to use a router, you know, just some of the basics with that.
Yeah.
So, and then I have my friend Catherine Emery come on. She was down at the Consumer Electronics Show. This isn't a CES show, but what it is she was down there, found a bunch of stuff, brought it in together. And so we've got a brand new robot vac that you can turn on, and it'll go around, and if you've got hard floors, it'll mop them and scrub them or vacuum them, and then automatically goes away, and it empties itself into the thing. So
It does
no more
both
scrubbing.
of them.
It does both. So it'll sweep, scrub, and mop all in one little robot vac.
I want that. See, that's the kind of robot revolution I want.
I need that one too.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
I want that stuff because I don't want to have to do that.
Yeah.
So, that's great. So I love seeing technology, you know, always, but seeing how that's being incorporated into. So
Yeah, so there's a lot of cool stuff.
lot of
There's even a lawnmower on there that's a zero turn, one of the big ones if you got some property, all battery powered. And I think you can do 3 or 4 acres on one charge.
on one charge, you can do 3
Yeah.
or 4 acres. That's crazy.
Yeah, so you can
I
go out
mean,
and knock it out.
The
all
battery
on
I have for my backyard runs out like halfway through it, and
that's
it
no
is not 3 or 4 acres.
Exactly. So a lot of new tech when it comes to batteries and exterior power tools, you know, something for spring.
Awesome. All right, and this is we probably don't want to give away anything else because you want to see the episode. So
Absolutely.
as always, when, where, and how can people watch?
All right, Saturday, 10 a.m., Fox 12 Plus. You can catch it there from 10 to 11, and then it'll replay at 6 o'clock on Sunday. Again, Fox 12 Plus. And of course, it'll air on Friday mornings, which if you missed last week's show, don't worry. You had all this weather. I get it. Maybe you didn't even have cable.
Yeah.
You can check it tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. every Friday.
There we go. And of course, clips are up on the Fox 12 Oregon YouTube channel, so you can go there. And then you mentioned viewer questions. Is there an easy way for them to send in questions to you?
Yeah, just go on the Fox 12 app, or you can just catch us over on the Fox 12 page, you know, the KPTV Fox 12 page, and on the website. Catch us over there. Send us an email, and we'll answer those questions for you.
All right, there we go. Eric, thank you, as always.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. And thanks everybody for joining in. So again, this is Fox 12 Now. If it's your first time watching, we mentioned that Fox 12 Oregon app. That's a great way to watch all of our segments as well. We cover a lot of different things. So if there's ever breaking news as well, though, we'll have that. Anytime between 1 p.m. and 4 p.m., this is the place to go, where you're at. We'll have news coverage, we have interviews, we talk about all kinds of things, but yeah, breaking news as well. So we will be right here. You'll know where to go, and we'll bring you the information as we get it. But that's it for right now. We're going to sign off. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.